When I Fall by Scarlet Emerald 32. Chapter 5. Talisa pulled her coat tighter around her shoulders. It was starting to get colder each morning. She could see her breath in the air as she walked down the road back towards her house.
Hey.
Talisa looked up to see Maggie sitting on the steps of her house with her hands wrapped around a steaming mug. She walked over and took a seat next to her.
You coming back from Deanna's?
Yeah.
How is she?
Talisa sighed and kicked at one of the brown weeds still stubbornly holding on between the cracks in the pavement.
She's devastated. She lost her son and her husband all within the span of a few days. I don't know if she'll ever be all right again. Spencer is staying with her. I told him I don't think it's a good idea for her to be alone.
Excuse me?
They both looked up to see Gabriel standing in front of them.
What do you want?
Maggie put a hand on her arm and gave it a gentle squeeze.
It's all right. We worked through it. What do you need, Gabriel?
I would like to help if I can.
He turned his attention to Talisa, but seemed hesitant to meet her eye.
I know that you heard the things that I said to Deanna. Please understand, things I said about these people were a reflection of my guilt for my own failures. I was a coward, and I deeply regret my actions. My only hope is that with time, I can earn the forgiveness I am well aware that I do not deserve.
Talisa looked from him to Maggie and back and then sighed heavily as she responded.
Well, as it just so happens, I seem to be having a lot of conversations lately about cowardice and the choices people make. If your people are willing to give you a second chance, I don't see why I can't.
Thank you.
Tobin is out at the graveyard digging graves for Reg and Pete. I'm sure he would appreciate your help.
I'll head there now.
He turned in the direction she indicated.
I think he's really going to try this time. He's been through a lot, just like the rest of us. And I'm not making excuses for how he handled it. But it's like you said, if we aren't in the business of giving second chances, what are we even doing here?
Rick was walking down the sidewalk across the street from them. As they watched, he crossed and came to where they were sitting.
You get Morgan settled all right?
Yeah, we put him in the house at the end, where we held Pete. I don't like locking him up, but I want to respect Deanna's rules. Which means we can't have him wandering around before she has a talk with him. And to be honest, I think it's probably a good idea for me to feel him out a bit more as well.
Do you think he's dangerous?
I think the last time I saw him, he was unstable. And we don't need any more unknowns right now.
I agree.
I'm gonna go check in on Deanna, but at some point we'll need to have a conversation about the next steps we're going to take.
We will.
As he walked away, Talisa turned to look at Maggie.
You should go touch base with her too.
I don't know what to say. I figured you'd be the better one to support her right now, seeing as you've lost a husband too.
Maggie, Deanna believes in you. She wants you to be part of what we're building here. Last night you said you wanted us all to be part of the family you have with your group. Family is there for each other, even when it's hard.
Maggie gave her a sad smile.
I'll head over in a few minutes.
Talisa gave her arm a squeeze and then stood to head back up the road. As she did, Maggie spoke again.
We have another issue.
Just one? 'Cause honestly, I figured things are getting kind of boring around here. We could use a little more drama.
Maggie smirked slightly before she continued.
Nicholas lured Glenn out into the woods last night during the meeting. He tried to kill him.
What? Oh, that spineless little asshole. Where is he?
Talisa, I'm not telling you this because I want you to call him out. I'm the only person Glenn told, and he let me decide what to do with it. He said if I wanted to out him and get him banished, that was my call. But I know what happens if I do that. There's no way he'll survive out there.
And it'll serve him right. He got 2 people killed and tried to kill a third because he's a gutless
coward.
Maggie met Talisa's eye.
Weren't we just talking about people who chose to be cowards getting second chances?
That's different.
Is it? I'm not so sure. Look at Eugene. How many people did he get killed on the way from Dallas to here? People who died believing the lie he told them. If he hadn't gotten a second chance, you never would have met him.
Eugene and Nicholas are not the same. Maggie, he tried to kill your husband.
I know. And believe me when I say that I want to hate him for it. But then I think about someone like Tara.
She looked up at Talisa with tears in her eyes.
Tara was standing right beside the man they called the governor the day he killed my daddy in cold blood, right in front of me. And in that moment, I hated her. I hated every one of them more than I've ever hated anyone. But now?
Maggie took a deep breath.
Now I love that girl like family, and I've been praying every day for her to wake up. That's one of the most beautiful parts of living, isn't it? As long as you're breathing, you have a chance to change your story.
Talisa let out a long, slow breath and shook her head. She smirked slightly as she kicked at the pavement once again.
You know what's funny? I pretty much said that exact same thing to Eugene 2 nights ago, when we were sitting with Tara and he told me the whole story of how he got here from Dallas.
Sounds like maybe you need to take your own advice then.
Maggie said with a smile. Talisa looked up at her and returned it with a resigned sigh.
Yeah, I guess I probably do.
You know, despite everything I just said, I told you about Nicholas because I trust you and I want to keep as many eyes on him as possible. If he tries anything like that again, he doesn't get a third chance.
Agreed.
The two women shared one last look of understanding before Talisa turned and walked towards the main gates. She was surprised to see Eugene there. She'd thought Holly was on shift. He was conversing with someone on the other side, and as she walked closer, she caught a snippet of the conversation and recognized the voice immediately.
Look, I'm not gonna kill you, but the longer you make me wait, the more you're motivating me to beat your ass.
You really think threatening the stranger at the gate is your best strategy for getting in, Snickers?
Talisa walked up next to Eugene, and the tall black man on the other side of the gate rolled his eyes and sighed in relief.
Tally, thank God. Can you please tell this fool that we live here?
It's okay, Eugene. They're cool. You can let them in.
He immediately pulled back the iron gate, allowing the man and the car behind him carrying 2 more people to enter. The other 2 hopped out of the car, and the girl came and gave Talisa a quick hug.
Hey, good to have you back. Eugene, this is Annie. That's Scott. And I see you've already met Heath.
Correct me if I'm mistaken, but did I just hear you call him Snickers a moment ago?
It's kinda our inside joke. When we first met, she couldn't remember my name, but she said she remembered it was a kind of candy bar. Hence,
Snickers, I understand.
How many of you are there?
Annie asked, as she pulled her backpack out of the car and walked over where they were standing.
14. No, 13.
Oh, I'm sorry.
so Eugene here says a lot has gone down in the past few days.
That's putting it mildly. Once you guys get settled, it'd probably be a good idea to do a debriefing.
Sounds like a plan. I'm gonna go drop off my gear and get a shower and some grub. But then I'll head over to Deanna's. Nice to meet you, Eugene. Guess I'll probably see you around.
I expect you will. And if you don't mind me saying, it is good to see someone else like me. I fully respect the hair game.
He indicated to Heath's shoulder-length dreadlocks. Heath stared at him for a moment and then looked from him to Talisa, clearly trying to decide if Eugene was actually being serious. Talisa pressed her lips together to keep from laughing and looked pointedly at her feet.
Thanks, I guess.
He shot Eugene one more unsure look and then turned to head down the road.
Damn haircut. And I thought you saved all your charm for me.
Eugene smirked and blushed slightly.
What are you doing on gate duty anyhow? I didn't think Deanna had officially given you a job yet.
She hasn't. This is Holly's shift. I was just walking by and she asked if I could relieve her for a few ticks. I said, no thank you, but she ignored me. Which is obviously what I should have done to her, because it has been at least 5 ticks and no Holly.
I'll talk to her. But next time you gotta stand up for yourself, Eugene. If you let people push you around, they're always going to. There's a difference between being helpful and being a doormat.
Well, I appreciate your assistance in helping me differentiate between the two.
Anytime.
They were momentarily distracted by a movement to their left. They looked over to see another vehicle driving slowly up the road towards them. As it pulled even with where they were standing, she saw Rick was driving, and Morgan was in the passenger seat.
Going out for milk?
Rick smirked appreciatively.
Nah, Deanna doesn't want Pete buried inside the walls. She gave us a spot down the road a ways where she said we should take him. We should be back in an hour or two.
Sounds good. Just be careful.
I always am.
Eugene slid the gate back and they drove through it and down the road. As he slid it back into place, Rosita walked up the road toward them looking confused.
Eugene, what are you doing out here? I'm supposed to be relieving Holly on gate duty.
Well, you see, I was walking by, and
She suckered him into taking her shift, didn't she?
Rosita addressed Talisa instead of Eugene.
Yeah, pretty much. But he and I have had a talk about it, and he's going to stand up for himself and stop letting people push him around. Right, Eugene?
affirmative.
Good for you, Eugene. Just as long as you don't think I'm gonna stop pushing you around. I have seniority.
I believe you have earned the right to boss me around in perpetuity, Rosita, and you'll never hear a complaint out of me on the matter.
And don't you forget it.
Rosita gave him a playful punch in the shoulder before taking her spot at the gate. Talisa headed down the road back towards her office, and Eugene fell in step beside her.
So what's on the docket for the rest of your afternoon?
I have to do a ton of paperwork. As the community's resident psychiatrist, it was my responsibility to sit down Deanna and Spencer last night and assess their emotional state regarding the incident. And I also have to make myself available for the rest of the day in case anyone else wants to talk.
I supposed a traumatic event witnessed by the majority of the community would tend to cause an uptick in the workload of someone with your particular vocation.
It sure does. And how about you? You got any big plans for today?
I'll probably go sit with Tara for a spell. She's feeling mighty cooped up in that house with all the action taking place out here.
She's awake?
Yes, ma'am. She woke up yesterday evening just a few minutes after the events of the meeting took place. As you can imagine, it's been quite a lot, catching her up on everything she missed while unconscious. She's taken the news about Noah especially hard. As you know, they were very close.
Yeah, man, that's gotta be rough. It's good that you're spending time with her, though. I'm sure she appreciates the company.
They'd reached the building where her office was located.
How about you, haircut? You good?
I'm functioning at what I would consider normal capacity. While seeing the kind of violence that was perpetrated last evening is never an ideal scenario, I believe the events of the last few years have hardened me to the effect of said scenario to some degree. Therefore, I'm not in need of your professional services at this time.
Good to hear. But you know, if you're ever in need of my friendly services, those are available too.
Eugene raised a questioning eyebrow, and Talisa laughed as she realized how her statement had sounded.
That came out a lot weirder than I'd intended, but you get what I mean.
He chuckled.
I do, and it is greatly appreciated.
He gave her one more nod and then walked away in the direction of the house he shared with Abraham, Tara, and Rosita. An hour or so later, as Talisa was filling out paperwork, there was a knock on the door. She looked up and was surprised to see Carl sticking his head in.
Hey, Carl, come on in.
She closed the folder and pushed it to the side so she could focus on him.
I need to talk to you, if it's okay.
Of course it's okay. Have a seat.
He slumped into the seat on the other side of her desk and looked around the office slowly, obviously not sure how to start. After another few seconds, he shot a hesitant look at her.
So you're like a therapist, right?
Yep.
So if I tell you something, it'll be like on the record or whatever. You'll have to keep it to yourself?
For the most part, yes. The only exception would be if I thought you or someone else was in imminent danger.
Would you consider sneaking outside the walls without permission imminent danger?
Talisa smirked.
Are we talking about Enid?
Carl's eyebrows shot up and he looked at her in disbelief.
You know about that?
Yeah, she told me. Enid and I talk a couple times a week, so I know all about the sneaking out and how she feels like being out there feels more normal and natural than being in here. Enid can take care of herself, so we made an agreement as long as she doesn't go out at night and she always comes back. I'm good with keeping her secret.
Wow.
Carl was looking at her with what she could plainly see was a newfound respect.
So is that what you came here to tell me? About Enid?
Oh, no, actually.
Carl looked down at the floor again as he continued.
I saw something today, and I don't want to get him in trouble, because things have already been really crappy for him the past couple days. But it's not safe. He doesn't get it,
We talking about Ron?
Carl nodded.
I saw him sneak over the wall right after my dad and Morgan left with...
With his dad's body?
Yeah.
So you think he was trying to follow them?
I mean, probably. Why else would he go? He's not like me and Enid. He's never really been outside the walls, He's not thinking straight right now after everything. If he's not careful, he's going to get himself killed.
Carl, you're a really good kid, you know that? I know Ron isn't your favorite person, to say the least. It says a lot about you that you'd come talk to me because you're worried about him.
Just because he's an asshole doesn't mean he deserves to die out there. Besides, I know how it feels to lose one of your parents. His dad was a jerk, but he was still his dad.
Yeah, he was.
She gave Carl an understanding smile, and he gave her a small one in return.
So here's how I see it. If he's following your dad, it means he wants to do one of two things. Either he just wants to see where they bury Pete, or he wants to confront your dad. Both scenarios most likely end up with your dad finding him and bringing him back here. I don't imagine it's going to take your dad and Morgan more than an hour or two to take care of Pete, so we'll wait it out. If they show back up without Ron, then we'll take it from there. Sound like a plan?
Yeah, that sounds good. Thanks, Talisa.
He gave her one more appreciative smile and then got up to head for the door.
Anytime, Carl. And hey.
Carl looked over his shoulder at her from the doorway.
Thanks for coming to me. It was the right thing to do.
He nodded and then reached for the doorknob, but as he did, it was open from the other side.
Oh, my bad.
Heath looked down at him in surprise.
I didn't mean to interrupt. Denise said you weren't with anyone.
I wasn't officially. Carl just came in to chat for a minute. He's part of our newest batch of Alexandrians. Carl, meet Heath, one of our runners. He just got back today.
Nice to meet you, little man.
Heath extended a hand which Carl shook.
Nice to meet you too. You sure picked one heck of a time to come back.
Heath gave an appreciative snort of laughter.
Yeah, I'm beginning to see that. You take it easy, all right? I'll see you around.
Carl nodded and walked through the door that Heath closed behind him.
That the sheriff's kid?
Heath inclined his head towards the closed door as he walked across the room and flopped on the couch near the fireplace to the right of her desk.
Yeah, that's him. And make yourself comfortable, by the way.
I always do.
He gave her an unabashed grin as he laid back on the couch and put his feet up on the armrest.
Gee, I've missed you. When's your next run again?
He laughed, but then after a moment he became quiet and more somber.
I talked to Deanna.
So I guess you're all caught up then.
Talisa stood and walked over to sit in her armchair across from the couch.
I guess I am. You know, I'm not gonna even pretend to be all that broken up about Pete. That guy had it coming. Though I'm not sure I ever thought it was gonna be a bullet in the head. But Reg, damn, he didn't deserve to go out like that.
I know. I still can't believe he's gone. I woke up this morning expecting him to be on his front porch with a cup of coffee saying good morning to everyone who walked by.
You think Deanna's gonna be okay? When I talked to her, she seemed totally lost.
She is. The person that was her constant companion for over 30 years, her other half as it were, was ripped away from her in a matter of seconds. She'll never be the same. But she's strong. She'll find a way to keep going for this place. The wound will never heal, but she'll learn how to live with it in time.
Like you did?
Like I did.
Another moment passed, and then Heath sighed as he sat partially propping himself up on his elbow to look at her.
So, how about these new people? What are they about?
They're good people. They were out there for a while, so they're still working through their stuff. But I think they really do want to be part of what we're building here. And more importantly, they want to help us make it better. Deanna trusting Rick to take care of Pete last night, that was a huge step. I think we're going to be headed in the right direction now.
It's going to be hard for some people in here to accept the way things are out there.
Talisa shrugged.
Change is hard, and some people fight against it, but growing pains are a part of life. With time, I think they'll see that the newcomers are value added here.
While we're on the topic of newcomers,
Heath shot her a mischievous smirk.
let's talk about Eugene.
Talisa rolled her eyes.
Oh God, not you too.
Oh, come on. You really thought I was going to leave that alone? I swear I thought I'd gotten transported to some alternate reality when I saw that mullet on the other side of the gate. Where the heck did they find that guy?
Dallas, apparently. And yeah, I can't deny that he is definitely one of a kind.
That kind being the guy who obviously has a huge crush on you.
Talisa immediately felt herself blushing.
No, he doesn't. We barely know each other.
Oh, please. I saw the way he was watching your every move. The way he smiles and blushes whenever you look at him or talk to him, he's totally into you. And...
Heath looked at her and raised an eyebrow, sitting up slightly more.
oh my God. Oh my God. You like that he's into you, don't you?
What? No.
You do. Look at you blushing.
Talisa tossed a throw pillow at his head.
I'm blushing because you are acting like an idiot and spouting off a bunch of nonsense with no basis in reality. Am I friends with Eugene? Yes. But it has never been anything more than that on either of our parts. So drop it.
All right, all right.
Heath raised his hands in surrender and laid back down against the couch.
Can't believe I spent the better part of 2 months hitting you with my best lines when you first got here. And in the end, it's Mr. Hair Game that gets your attention.
I didn't realize, sup, girl. Every morning for 8 weeks was the extent of your game.
It's not. But you never gave me an opening to move past my first line, so I guess you'll never know. Besides, it seems like I'd be quite inclined to embark on a relationship of a more intimate nature if that's something you'd find yourself amenable to. Seems to be the kind of flirting that floats your boat.
Hey, Heath. Shut up.
He grinned and leaned back against the couch triumphantly just as the door of the office opened, and Denise stuck her head in.
Hey guys, heads up. Meeting at Deanna's in 5 minutes. Rick saw something while he was outside the walls, and he said we need to address it immediately.
He's back?
Talisa and Heath got up and headed to the door.
Yeah, just now.
Do you know if he brought Ron back with him?
Yeah, he did. I saw him dropping him off at Jesse's before he came over here. Jesse wasn't happy with the kid, but he seemed none the worse for wear.
Thank God. That's one less problem we have to deal with.
They all walked towards Deanna's, and by the time they got there, her living room was mostly full. The entire community had crowded in. Heath walked over to stand next to another woman named Molly in the far left corner of the room, closest to the stairs. Talisa noticed Eugene leaning against the doorframe that led into the living room. Rosita was sitting next to him in a chair just inside the room, and Abraham was in another to her right. Talisa walked over and stood in the doorway to Eugene's left.
Another issue. Just what we need right now, huh?
He gave a small huff of agreement as Rick began to speak.
I know there's been a lot of fear and uncertainty over the past 24 hours. And I know that some of you, maybe most of you, are still not too happy about the changes I'm making around here. That's fine. I understand why this is difficult. And I don't blame you for not wanting to do it. I don't need you to like me, but I do need you to follow me. Because like it or not, this is the world now. It's difficult and sometimes it's ugly, and the truth of the matter is, when there's a threat, we need to contain it. And we can't wait until everyone feels like they're ready to get it done.
He stopped and looked around the room at all the somber faces before he continued.
When Morgan and I were outside the walls, we found something that could turn into a very real problem very quickly if we don't address it. There's a quarry a few miles from here, and the dead have been falling into it for a while now. Months, probably even years. There's tens of thousands, maybe even hundreds. And the only thing stopping them from breaking out and coming right at us is 2 big rigs parked at the entrance.
There was a ringing silence in the room following his words that was finally broken when Heath gave a heavy sigh and shook his head.
I didn't realize it had gotten that bad.
All eyes in the room turned to him, and he looked up, meeting Rick's expectant gaze.
My team and I saw it early on, back when we were doing those first scouts. Finding out what was around here, there was a camp at the bottom. The people there must have blocked the exit with those trucks when everything started to go bad. They didn't make it. They were all roamers by the time we got there, about a dozen of them.
And no one ever went back?
All the towns worth scavenging are in the other direction, and I never really felt like having a picnic next to the camp that ate itself.
So all the while, the walkers have been drawn to the sound, and then they make more sound, which draws more walkers.
And here we are.
Now what I'm proposing, I know it's going to sound risky, but walkers are already slipping through the exits. One of the trucks keeping them in could go any day now. Maybe after another hard rain. And like I said, that sends them, all of them, right at us. It isn't a question of if it gives, it's a question of when. It's going to happen, so we need to do this soon.
Carol stepped forward slightly and looked up at Rick.
Wow. This is... Well, I don't really have another word for it. This is terrifying.
She looked around the room at them all with a wide-eyed and convincingly terrified expression. Talisa concealed her smirk of amusement as she did. Carol was very good. She gave it another second to let the effect settle on the group before turning back to Rick with a sigh.
But it doesn't sound like there's any other way.
Maybe there is.
Carter, one of the original residents of Alexandria, stepped up on Talisa's right to address Rick. Talisa looked over at him. Carter had never really been a take-charge sort of personality, and she was curious what he had to say.
I mean, couldn't we just build up the weak spots and try to make it safe? I could draw up some plans. I worked with Reg on the walls on the construction crew. We can try to make it safe.
Even if we could, the sound of those walkers is drawing more and more every day. Building up the exits won't change that.
Carter opened his mouth again to argue, but he was cut off as Deanna turned back to the room. She had been standing to the side of the conversation, listening passively as she gazed out the window. But she turned now and spoke to the group as a whole.
We're going to do what Rick says. He's told me his plan, and I believe it will work. So let's all be quiet and listen.
She nodded to Rick, who returned the gesture in thanks before continuing.
Daryl's gonna lead them away.
Me too.
Sasha interjected from her spot on the couch next to Maggie.
I'll take a car and ride next to him. It can't just be him. He needs backup. I'll keep them moving, and he can keep them from getting sloppy.
Rick looked down at her for a moment, but then nodded in agreement.
I'll go with her.
Abraham piped up, and Talisa noticed that both Sasha and Rosita looked at him in surprise.
It's a long way to white-knuckle it solo.
Rick nodded in approval again before continuing.
We're gonna have 2 teams, one on each side of the forest to handle this thing. We're gonna keep a few people on watch here from now on. Rosita, Spencer, and Holly, so they're out. We're gonna need volunteers. So who's in?
Me.
Michonne said immediately, and Rick nodded. Talisa noticed that Maggie and Glenn were having a quiet but intense conversation on the couch with their heads close together, but after another moment, Glenn raised a hand.
Me too.
Gabriel raised his hand tentatively.
I'd like to help as well.
No. Who else?
Talisa saw Eugene's hand twitch, and she quickly reached out and grabbed his wrist, holding it down.
No, you don't, Haircut. Not your rodeo.
We need more.
There's got to be another play. We can't just control that many.
I've explained this to you before. Walkers herd up. They'll follow a path if something's drawing them. That's how we'll get them all at once.
And we're just supposed to take your word for it? We're all supposed to just fall in line behind you after you just...
Carter trailed off and looked nervously around the room. No one seemed to want to meet his eye.
After what?
Rick's voice had taken on a deadly calm. Carter looked back at him and took a deep breath to steady himself as he spoke.
After you waved a gun around screaming, pointing it at people. After you shot a man in the face. After you...
Enough.
Heath cut across him, pushing himself off the doorframe.
I'll do it.
Me too.
Molly said quickly, moving to stand next to him.
Whatever you need, I'm in.
Tobin added, and Deanna gave him an appreciative smile before turning to the rest of the room.
Who else?
Talisa saw Nicholas shifting nervously against the bookcase. Glenn caught his eye with a threatening glare and gave a barely noticeable shake of his head. Nicholas held his gaze for a moment before raising his hand. Glenn closed his eyes and sighed in frustration.
I'll go.
He looked back at Glenn as he continued, speaking directly to him.
We have to do this, and I need to help.
You sure you can handle it?
You need people, I'll get it done.
Rick nodded to him and then turned back to everyone gathered.
We'll make this work. We'll keep this place safe. We'll keep our family safe. We will.
Carter sighed heavily and shook his head.
Go over the plan again.
Man, he just said it.
Daryl grumbled from the windowsill where he was sitting, but Rick held a hand up to him and turned back to Carter.
The whole plan. Go over it again.
An hour later, Talisa was standing on Deanna's porch with Rick, Michonne, Deanna, Carter, and Eugene poring over a map of the area.
Here. At the intersection of Marshall and Redding. We'll force them west from this point.
How?
We'll block it off so they can only go one way. West. Away from the community.
Block it off with what?
We'll use the RVs, some of the bigger trucks. We'll park them end to end. We'll be drawing them. They'll keep moving.
Yeah, but that many of them? Just bouncing off sedans? And what happens when they start slipping through the cracks and the ones who walk away start distracting the others and then suddenly you're not leading them anymore?
Man's got a point.
We got plates, big-ass ones, from the construction site. We can use them to fortify the whip wall.
Eugene leaned around Talisa and pointed to the spot Rick had indicated on the map.
It'd help disperse the impact and direct the walkers clean, like a pool table, 8-ball, corner pocket.
That's an army out there, and what happens when it doesn't hold and they push on through? The curve of this hillside is going to bring them right back here. You seriously want to risk that?
No. So you need to help us make them hold. You helped build these walls, right?
Carter looked at him for a long moment before finally nodding.
So you've already done the impossible.
Carter, please.
Carter looked between her and Rick and then sighed.
Fine. But if we're going to make this work, we're going to need all hands on deck. I'll need a crew of at least 20 ready to get out there and get to work first thing tomorrow morning.
We'll go make a schedule now.
Okay, then I guess we'll try.
Carter sighed as he turned and walked off the porch.
I suppose we should go inside and discuss work details.
Deanna said to Rick and Michonne.
I suppose we should.
The three of them walked into the house, leaving Talisa and Eugene on the porch.
Guess we weren't invited to the planning meeting.
It would appear that way.
Nice contribution with the metal plate idea. It'll definitely make things a lot more streamlined and safe.
Well, I'm aware my skills in both the offensive and defensive capacity are not of a caliber that would be beneficial in this sort of endeavor. But I'd still like to contribute in any way that I can.
Yeah, sorry I kind of stopped you from volunteering in there.
Eugene moved to her side and leaned against the railing beside her.
No apology necessary. Since our conversation at Tara's bedside, I'll admit I have felt compelled to put myself out there more, for lack of better phrasing. But on further introspection, I'm realizing a venture with stakes as high as the one we are about to embark on is probably not the appropriate venue for me to test my mettle, as it were.
Yeah, maybe just stick with gate duty, at least until we can get you some weapons training.
She nudged his shoulder with her own and smirked.
Though you know, it really is the height of irony to have a Texan who's uncomfortable with guns.
Hey now, that is completely antiquated stereotype, and I take personal offense to said implication.
All right, I take it back.
She hopped off the railing and walked to the edge of the porch, and he followed. She sat down on the steps, and he sat next to her.
You really think the wall is going to hold?
It should. As long as they keep the horde moving in the intended direction, the force should be dispersed correctly.
8-ball, corner pocket.
He smirked.
Yes, indeed, ma'am.
Hey, Eugene. That chick who lives with you is looking for you.
Heath came walking up the sidewalk towards them and leaned on the handrail of the stairs.
Which chick are you referring to? I currently reside with two.
The hot one who's kinda scary.
Rosita.
The two of them shared a smile as he got up and headed down the steps.
Well, I'd better go find out what she wants. I suppose I'll see you later.
It does seem to turn out that way, doesn't it?
He walked down the steps and around the corner. Talisa watched him go, and then brought her gaze back to Heath, who was smirking at her.
Shut up.
I didn't say anything.
Behind them, Rick and Michonne came out onto the porch again.
Hey, Heath. We've planned out some work details to help us with building a retaining wall over the next day or two. You think you could go with Michonne here and tell people what their jobs are going to be? I think it might go down a little easier with the face they know to back her up.
I'd be happy to.
He nodded to Michonne, who joined him as they walked off down the street. Rick came and took up the spot next to Talisa on the steps that Eugene had vacated.
I asked Deanna to keep you inside the walls while we work. I want to have a good amount of her people out there. They need the experience, need to see what it's like. But I know my people too, and they aren't gonna want to stay behind on something this important.
Her people and your people. Which of those groups do I fall in, Rick?
Both. And that's why you're so important. I know we haven't known you long, but you've stood up for us, stood with us, and you've shown me that we can trust you. That's why I need you to stay here.
I'm honored, Rick. I promise I will hold down the fort in your absence. You can count on me.
I know I can.
Rick folded his hands in front of him and looked down for a moment as if there was something else he wanted to say, but he wasn't sure how to say it.
I'd like you to come have dinner with us all tonight. If you wouldn't mind. It's nothing fancy. Carol's making spaghetti. It's just, I'd like you to meet Morgan, officially, and
give you my professional opinion on his mental state?
Rick nodded, still not looking at her.
Rick, you're not betraying him by being cautious. If he was as unstable as you said he was last time you saw him, it's only natural to want to be sure he's good now before you put him in a position with a lot on the line. I know how to be discreet. I promise I won't make him feel interrogated or confronted in any way. We'll get it figured out.
Rick finally looked up at her.
Thank you.
She gave his arm a quick pat as she stood up.
Anytime. So what time should I be there?
7 sound good?
7 sounds just fine.
When I Fall is a work of fiction based on AMC's The Walking Dead. Any characters not created by the author are the property of said company. The story will continue in the next chapter.